So I'm kind of determined to get to the bottom of this problem and find out and calculate somehow the height of the tank. So I came up with this idea, and I'm a bit stuck for light, but I hope you can see. I bent myself a piece of metal here and I put it in the tank, and you can see that, wait a minute, before I put it in the tank, there's the top. It's not far off the top of the sender, you know, like where the hole is. It's quite high up. So I'm going to put that through there, you can see that, lift it up. There's the top of the tank, mark that, and then we'll see the height from the aperture to the top of the tank, and then we'll get to the bench and we'll do some calculus. What I've done is I've set the two gauges, clamped them in a piece of angle iron to compare one with the other, and I haven't done the electrical test yet, but I wanted to show you about this piece of bent metal. Now the reason why I use a solid piece of metal was I could make sure that it wasn't going to bend and flex like wire, and also I had a big area here to put a mark on. Now the mark, you can see I drew around the aperture of the tank hole, and get the old tape measure out, and this one's got inches on and metric. From the top of the hole it is 50 centimetres or 2 inches. Interesting. If you can see on here and here, I've actually marked with a Sharpie where the hole would be. So from that mark to the top should be no more than 50 millimetres. Of course, there we go. So 50 millimetres from the bottom of that mark, you see there, is here. So there's the aperture. That's the bottom of the aperture. There's 50 millimetres. And look, the gauge is way up there. It should be here. Now that would account to why it can only read 3/4. So logically, all we've got to do is bend this to that setting, so it's when it's on its stopper here. Now let's have a look at this one here. Again, same thing, look. It's way up there. There's 50 centimetres, 50 millimetres, 50 centimetres would be good. 50 millimetres here. Way too much. So let me bend these and find out the results. Now I'll do this one first, because this is the Land Rover one, then we'll compare the two. So just eyeballing this 50 millimetres from the bottom of that black Sharpie mark up to there, trying to get a square line going across. And you don't have to be that accurate, I mean we're not going to the bloody moon or anything, but you can see now here, this is almost straight, whereas it had a great big dog leg in it before. So, and of course, this is against its full stop, like its end stop. So that's the low, and you can see when it's on low, it's at the bottom of the fuel, so the low shouldn't move. You see, so when we're hitting the stop here, we're hitting the bottom of the tank. I think we're onto a winner. I think we're onto a winner. Now let's have a look at this Britpart one. So that's going to the bottom there. Let's move this across a bit so we can see what we're going to do live time. So let's move it to full. That needs to come down considerably. Now I don't want that to touch the top of the tank, so I might have to do some jiggery pokery there. No, that's wrong. That's not bad. That's not bad. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. Now, let's do something interesting and measure the resistance of these. Now you're going to find this interesting. I'm using an analogue meter to test the resistance, and it's showing. Oh, wait a minute, I can't read that scale too. Where is it now? Where's ohms? I've got it on times 10, so it's 2. So what's that? I don't know. Oh, we're on this one, by the way. We're on this gauge. So I'm going to hold the gauge up like this, and I'm going to move the sender up and down. So at the moment it's on full. Let me zoom in so you can see the gauge. Maybe not that much. Wait a minute. so you can get a good picture. So there we go. Now that's on a full tank. We'll move it to low, to an empty tank. Look at that massive range it's moved. Bear that in mind. Let's set up now and have a look at the other sender. This is on the second, which we think is the original sender, but this one's definitely a Britpart one, and this one isn't. So I don't know what this one is. I don't know if it's been replaced once before. But we'll move it up to full. And you know something? It's not bad at all. Look at that. Let's go back and test the Britpart one. That's full. That's empty. And you can see as I gradually go higher and higher, like simulating the tank filling up, you can see the resistance. So as we see the tank draining, we'll see that goes to there. I ain't got my glasses on, I can't bloody read it, that's why. And that is the same look. Watch. So they're not far off. It's just they need bending. So are we onto something now? I think these have got bent all out of shape, and as we've been chatting on the comments, it could have been the resistance. Obviously it's not. It's the height of the floats that's the problem. Now, could it be that these are generic, like Smith's type units, put into all sorts of tanks? I really don't know. But going off our measurements and things like that, if I eyeball that up there, that is against its top of the tank, it should be hunky-dory. Now you could see that I moved it from about there. Let me put the gauge on and see how much further. So, when the tank was full before, I know this is a bit of a ramble, but you'll pick the bones out of it. When the tank was full before, and this float was bent, that was where the setting was. But if I put the... oh, wait a minute, I'll put the ground on. There we go. So, when the tank was full before, and this float was up here, this little arm here wasn't touching its stop, and that's where the resistance was. But look how much further it has to go, and that's our full. I think we've bossed it. I'm going to put this on with glee and joy, and then I'm going to fill it up with the diesel. Now what I'm going to do, now I've got my little pump hooked up, I can do this progressively because I've got my containers all in 20 litre containers. So now I'm going to put half a container, which would be 10 litres, and then we'll have a look at the gauge and see where it was, and we'll look back at our old video and see where 10 litres got us before. That'll be, hey, what a lot of fun, isn't it? God, you thought it was boring here, but it isn't. Land Rover Land is full of fun. Anyway, let's see what happens. So with the sender installed into the tank again, you can see our wiring's working because we've got our light on and the gauge is empty. Now, I'm going to be at the other side of the vehicle filling this up from the electric pump. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have to fast forward this because this is sort of a visual so you can see the gauge going up. But I'm going to run round, and when I get to 10 litres, I'm going to put that up. So we can then have a look and see where the gauge is at 10 litres. Alright? So, it's going to be a lot of fun. But I don't know if it's going to change all that much. We'll see. So let's get started, and I'm going to turn on the pump. So there we go. 80 litres. It's exactly where the gauge will go. It won't go any further than that. It's just in the white. It's just in the white. I think it's okay, but at least it didn't go to 3/4, so that's good. So I'm going to consider that job fixed. Going through the scale, when it was on half a tank, it was dead on. So I think that's what it is. It's the floats are set too high. Something to watch for, when you get a replacement one. Anyway, I think I'm going to have a refreshing glass of sherry now. But interestingly enough, when we were filling it up, we could see the warning light went out at 11 litres. So we know now, 10, 11 litres, we're almost on the money for the gauge. Excellent. Couldn't worked out better, could it? So, making Land Rovers better. You have a job to make them any worse, wouldn't you? Right, signing off. Talk to you later. Bye now.